He did, and he's with his daughter.
You don't think I can cut it? I'll take that right.
Traveled over his life.
Okay.
Hi!
Hello.
What if you put both of these together? Okay, what do you think? We need a little more space if we're gonna. Yeah.
So you're.
We're not thinking about it. Yeah, when they add the cancer insurance, and then have the agenda as part of the going over.
Question.
It's Caesar.
How are you?
What case is
They're like in your.
Oh, yeah, yeah. This is Sarah.
So is it all district?
What's that?
Audition.
Audition.
All district or your football?
Oh, yeah.
Or all
Audition. No, I don't know.
yeah. Well, you're like
Middle one back there. in the center.
what year?
92.
92.
Yeah, but I mean, so you can have a meeting with a conversation without it.
I just came in.
Thank you,
Our
sir.
softball girls have softball girls. Some of our softball ladies are playing on a fall ball team that plays some.
Nice.
I know they'll appreciate that.
Oh, yeah. And I know the dads. Some of these girls, the girls that are seniors now, some of them play with my daughter.
Okay.
So, right?
Seeing them
It might be a
play all the
little-
way out.
Oh, okay. We're just gonna do one long.
Oh, no, one
So
more.
is that what you want to do, or you want to do two side by side?
Yeah, something side by side, right?
I've got.
Might give us a little more space.
I'll do my part for mortgage and then that can take over.
We might not.
So you take that, you take it together. So you can get out of the way. The board meeting, they still continue to meet. And then when you come back. Under Robert's rules, that's what you're at.
Yes, that's right. So-
Would you like a water, Dana?
Thank you. You have plenty, right?
I know. I can.
Hello, how are you?
So you have.
So do I have?
No, I went home and I told my husband
No.
about the,
Oh, yeah.
Technically, there is.
because he was all district back in the
You
day.
know, my kids were surprised because, dads are always telling stories.
Oh, yes.
My sons are like, And one day we were in the out back in the shed, cleaning stuff out. I was looking for some stuff that my mom had left me. And I came across it, because when I was growing up, we didn't have
Yes,
so my parents could never forgive me.
right.
Yeah, that's what
So
you're
I
doing.
read letters, and I came across it, and I said,
Here it is.
don't believe my
So there's together.
Until it's going to be.
I know, because I keep telling him, show me the proof here.
72 hours. Board meeting.
Oh, that's you?
Little swag.
How are you,
Good,
ma'am?
how are you? He said he was coming
So
to
I have
support.
more answers on that email.
Oh, that's okay.
Everything else, but-
I think that happened on the
Good night.
You're gonna get me in trouble at my work.
Send me a picture, sir.
Yeah, we're gonna meet you tonight.
Yes.
Good to see you. It's so freaking happy, sir.
Hi, how are you?
Good to see you, sir.
Good, likewise.
Good to see you again.
Hey, Stefan. Good to see you. Nice to see you.
So, yeah, technically, I think you just, they're not informed. You just reset, you just say we're in, the board meetings in recess, communication, conversation. And if you make it back before, you can formally gavel out.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna have to go back.
Then you just gavel out. at that point.
How was your day?
Was Stacy good?
I'm
Yes, we met with Alicia.
Morning, Miss Donna.
Good to see you.
Okay, well,
But we'll get it.
Hello,
Hello,
stranger.
ma'am, how are you?
Like Mr. Stranger in the audience.
Like, it's like, hi.
Don't push.
that's what she meant.
Right.
So, make sure she
Hello.
See you.
get to meet those people.
We don't know that lady who's our candidate. How you doing, Matt?
Hi.
My favorite color. Nice seeing you again.
Maybe about 4 or 5. That's in somewhere.
Ms. Damon, Ms. Damon, let her just tap in.
Fashionably late.
I'm trying. I'm trying. Oh, no. Oh, no.
Down there?
Shirley, did I say hello?
Good to see you.
I said hello, right?
Happy Monday.
Okay,
Doesn't matter. We have this.
long day.
You did so perfect.
Sit right there in the middle.
The special call meeting of the South San Antonio Independent School District Board of Trustees will come to order. Today is October 7th, 2019, and the time is 6:02. Roll call, please, Michelle.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Kevin Roscoe,
Present.
Ms. Shirley Barapena, Ms. Stacy E. Alderete,
Here.
and let the record reflect, Mr. Gilbert Rodriguez is in the audience.
Thank you, Michelle.
And I could do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay,
Can we
please.
stand? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
the Texas pledge.
On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
Our call to action. All
All
students
students enjoy successful education experiences, empowering them to make decisions while enriching their lives in the future they create.
Please start in prayer. Lord, we gather today and ask that you would direct and govern all of the topics discussed at this meeting. Lord, we invite you to be present in all of our dealings and decisions and ask that you guide us in serving the children of South San, for they deserve the very best. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
The first item the only item on the agenda, as we all know, actually, this is a first-year board member local district orientation. In your packet, do you have a packet, Stacy?
It's time. You can borrow mine.
Are you sure I can?
Yeah. No, it's fine.
In the packet, there's an agenda and the topics that are going to be discussed. The first one is the introductions, all of us. So I think what we're on the table, and if everybody would introduce themselves and their title. And we'll start with this.
Good evening, everyone. Great to see everyone. I'm Rosa Neco, Durham Superintendent in South San Antonio School District.
Lorraine De Leon, Executive Director of Instructional Services.
Chad Doucette, I'm the interim chief of staff, but I'm actually the personnel director.
Denise Orozco, Executive Director of Student Support Services.
I am Michelle Martinez, Senior Executive Assistant to the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Trustees, and the Chief of Staff.
Kevin Rasco, trustee District 2.
Stacy Alderete, District 7. Shirley Barapena, District 4.
And I'm Connie Prado, District 5 and Board President. Okay. Next topic is new board member required trainings and information. Michelle Martinez will give us some information on what is required for board members on training.
Here.
Okay.
Use mine.
I'll share with Mr. Roscoe.
Yeah.
Michelle, Mrs. Bosco.
Michelle, sure, just okay, if I may before. Board members, I'm going to go through each item, just read them out so you'll know. After I give the board member process, which is pretty much your BE local. I think a lot of us are familiar with it, but I'm going to go through it for the sake of the new board members. And, but once we do that, I'm going to recess the meeting at business at hand. Where there's no business at hand, we're going to recess it. Then I'm going to excuse myself. You all will continue. The staff will give their presentations, and then I will come back at that time in time to adjourn our meeting. Okay? Just so you'll know. So following Michelle's presentation will be the board meeting process, which will be myself, Ms. Sendejo, and Ms. Martinez. And then number 4 is board resources, Ms. Martinez and Ms. Sendejo. And number 5 will be state of the district / department overview. It will be presented by Ms. Sendejo, Lorraine de Leon, Chad Doucette, and I'm going to take my name off of there. And then number 6 is board operating procedures. Oh, what does it have to say? Ms. Sendejo and Ms. Prada.
Mrs. Brother, what we can do is we can adjust it and prioritize that first.
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll move item number 6 to number 4 instead of number 3.
So we'll move 4 to 6 and 6 to 4?
Yes. Okay. And then number 7 is Lone Star Governance Overview, also myself, Ms. Sendejo and Lorraine de Leon. And number 8 is Miscellaneous and Communication is Key, the Ms. Sendejo. I think this is going to go pretty quickly. Is there a required time that we have to have this? Dee, is there a required an hour, 2 hours? Is there some requirement?
I believe it is as long as you need to get the topic covered.
Okay. All right, then what I'd like to do is I will do number 2, I'm sorry, number 3, number 4, and also number 7, the Lone Star Governance as well. Okay, so after number 4, we'll go Lone Star Governance, which will be number 5. And then this will be 8 and 9. So number 7 will be number 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay?
So 7 is going to be 5 and 5 is going to be 7.
Number 1 is introductions. Number 2 is new board member required training. Number 3 is board meeting process. Number 4 is board operating procedures. Number 5 is Lone Star Governance. Number 6 is board resources. Number 7 is state of the district. Number 8 is miscellaneous, and number 9 is communication is key. Okay. Do you have an agenda, or do you need a? Oh, okay.
Follow across.
Oh, oh, thank you. All right. Okay, Michelle, you can proceed.
Okay, so a lot of this stuff you have accessible to you on our website. We're going to first go over, the first page has our call to action. It's just a cheat sheet that's created that has our call to action, our beliefs, our strategies, and also our board goals. The board goals are tied into our Lone Star Governance framework. Yeah, that's it. And then the next handout that you have is the superintendent's cabinet. So in the event that you needed to get a hold of somebody, typically you go directly through Ms. Sendejo, but just so you have a name for who all is who, it lists our cabinet and who they are and a phone number you can reach them at. The very next page is a contact for board members and the superintendent and myself. This is the document that I shared with you on the drive. It is a living document, so as people's numbers change or names change, we update it. So you can get the latest version through the drive. If we go on to number 2, new board member required trainings and information. So on the TASB website, if you familiarize yourself, there's a lot of helpful information on new trustees, all the legal requirements for the first year. There's a checklist that says what you should be doing the first week, the second week, within the first 90 days. There's a lot here that you can read, and I just kind of printed it out so that you have it accessible to you. The next document is the new board member preparation checklist, and that just goes over like personal, like setting goals, prioritizing, just monitoring your own successes and the district successes. It's just kind of a roadmap to help you to become the most successful board member that you can become. The next, you can do that one, so this is a little bit, yeah. Yeah. very next document, is the board training requirements. That just shows how many that you need during your first, I think it's first 120 days. It's the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. You'll become more familiarized with this at our next board meeting in October because we will be reporting the hours. So like this training here, you'll see it that you're going to get credit for. The next handout that was printed out was from TASB's website. It goes over the ethics for school board members. So this is just equity and attitude, trustworthiness and stewardship, honor and conduct, integrity and character, commitment of to service, student-centered focus. And again, this is something that you can find on TASB's website. The very next document is the framework for school board development. This is from TEA. So this says what their framework is, what the vision is, and how school board members should apply this to become the best board member that you possibly can be. And we go on to tab number 3. The first document that you're going to see that is part of this one is one that I believe you want to go over. The first document that's in there is the board meeting calendar. This is subject to change based on the board president and the superintendent. They kind of come together and figure out what dates work best for everybody as a whole. So that's something. And then also, just to cover some of the board meeting process, just so you know, your parking is in the back of the building. You're welcome to park back there. On board meeting days, if somebody's in your space, please call me. I will have them moved for you. And if ever during a board meeting night, if you need supplies, if you forgot a pen, if you forgot a charger or something, let me know and I'll find something for you. Also, we serve you dinner during closed session.
I was going to ask that question.
There is. So I don't know, Ms. Prado, would you like to touch on the timeline for
Yes,
submitting items or how to submit them?
Okay, let me, if I may touch on this. This was already generated. We started actually the calendar about a year or two ago when we had this. I would like to actually go over this with the entire board when we have all 7 board members, because what we found out is the timeline for staff for them to submit agenda items is like 14 days ahead of when the time that Ms. Ndekwa and I will sit down and go over the agenda. Sometimes staff has things at the last minute, right after the 14 days, and so the cutoff, I think, is too soon. I think there's got to be something less. So we're looking at maybe 7 days as opposed to 14. And if we decide that, then we'll have to change the calendar altogether. Because I think it puts a lot of restriction on things that come up at the last minute that don't meet that 14-day timeline. So I think it's going to have to be revisited and gone over, and then we can all come into a consensus. This is not just for me, it's for all of us. So I think we should all have input on what days are going to work well and what timeline should we have. So this gives you just an idea of what it's like now and what it's been in the past. And for example, let's go to the October 16th, which is our board meeting that's coming up. It's on a Thursday, and on top it says board meetings, regular call, third Wednesday. And if you look at the agenda items due, it's the third Friday before the meeting. Well, that's September 27th. So that's already 14, that's like 16, I think 17 days prior. So, and then the draft to the superintendent, to the board president, to the attorney is for September 30th. So that means anything after September 30th would be coming in late, and we would have to adjust the agenda. So there's just, it's not fair to staff, I think, because there's always things coming in prior. So, and then the draft to the entire board goes out Friday, November 1st. I'm sorry, October 4th. And then the agenda posting deadline, and that changes by staff and board release book is October 9th. Now, changes by staff is if there's an emergency, if there's a timeline where it requires something at the last minute that must be acted on, then the change can be made. But it has to be made before the day of the posting. So in between all of this, promoting you. Ms. Sendejo and I, and that's in BE local that I'm going to go over. The board president and the superintendent are the ones that go over the agenda. So staff presents everything to the superintendent, items that they need to be acted on at the board meeting or presented, because it's not just actions. We have presentations and we have reports as well. So those items are sent to Ms. Sendejo. She prepares a draft preliminary agenda, and then her and I sit down and go over it. And we require that if there's any items coming to the board, that they must have backup information. We have had issues in the past where information was handed out the day of the meeting. It's not fair to the board to have to act on items that don't have any backup. So if there is no backup at the time by posting, then it's not on the agenda. I mean, it's only fair to the board. We need time to review everything that's presented to us. So that's pretty much the process for the agenda setting. We don't need the attorney unless we really have to. If we have to do a conference call with him, but he's not been attending our agenda setting meetings unless there's something in closed session that's of a legal nature. And then we have him come to the agenda setting meeting. Yes.
Good evening. This last month, we made a modification to the summary agenda submittal that our internal staff present. So within the departments, the documents and the backup come in. And what we did is we added maybe a historical background so that it would allow the board members to be privy to some historical data if it was connected or anyway. And I do believe that has and will assist you when you are reviewing the backup information. So again, any way that we can, or there's something that you may see that may be of support to the rest of the team, especially coming in, that's always beneficial. So we're happy to have made that adjustment there, and you'll see it here in next week or so.
And also let me, since we're on the agenda, when the agenda is sent to the entire board, you actually have from that Friday, from the day of the posting, up until Sunday night or Monday morning. If you have questions on any of the agenda items, please email them to Ms. Sendejo for staff. The whole concept of this calendar and everything is that Lone Star Governance would like for us, our goal is to keep our meetings at 2 hours. We've had quite lengthy meetings and we've got to stop. So we do that by asking questions ahead of time, and you email them to Ms. Sendejo, and then she in turn refers them to the appropriate staff member to give you a response. They're pretty good about giving you the responses at least by Tuesday and not the day of the board meeting. So, but don't feel that just because they give you a response that you can't ask questions at the meeting, because sometimes the response will generate another question, right? So, but if you can get them all sent and get your answers before the meeting, that helps save a lot of time at the meeting. But absolutely, you can, at the time of the meeting, if you have a follow-up question, you're welcome to ask it at that time. So I think that was it on the agenda pretty much.
That's to prevent, hopefully, from pointing to anything that
Yes, because the agenda actually, as you recall, Kevin, it has, you've got your presentations and reports, and then we have consent items. Of course, we have to have, by law now, citizens to be heard has to be at the very beginning. We don't have a choice. So citizens to be heard, presentations, reports, and then we have usually a lot of consent items. And on the BE local, I'll read you why we have so many consent items. And then at last, we have the discussion and possible actions. The consent items are normally things that would normally be approved. It doesn't say that you can't pull an item for discussion. So when the items come up, if there's something that you have a question on, I'll ask the board members, are there any items under consent you want to pull? And then you can say, Kevin, I'd like to pull item number 10. And so I make a list of everybody who's pulling, and then I'd say, okay, now you have 3 minutes. We're allowed 3 minutes per item for discussion. And our vice president is the timekeeper, and he keeps track of, and I keep track of how much time you have to discuss the item or ask further questions. So
before the board meeting, we can contact Ms. Sendejo,
absolutely,
whatever gets
if you have
questions clarified. That way, we hopefully won't need to pull.
Absolutely. So the least number of items we pull, the better. The time goes by faster. The downfall to that, and I've always thought, although it makes the meeting go faster, the downfall is that we may have 12 items and the people in the audience are like, nobody's asking questions, you know, and it's like, why not? You get that look like, how come you're not asking
You miss
questions?
opportunities to brag on why you're making some decisions.
Right. So that's the downfall, in my opinion. You know, the community wants to hear you.
I can say it from the perspective of a community member and being on the other side. I understand because I'm a former board member now back, right? But other people don't. So when you have big items that you're not discussing, they think that you're not being transparent.
Right.
So that is the downfall of having not
So
understanding.
is it acceptable practice if we know that there's something on the consent agenda that the community might want to hear us talk about, not to be contentious, but just so that people get to say a few things? Is it common practice to
You can
pull
say,
it just for that, or is
well,
that?
it's, you know, I'm not going to say you can't, because you can.
Exactly.
Absolutely, within your 3 minutes.
Well, the other mindset too, it is, we, the consultant, as I has mentioned, that the meeting is held before the public.
Mhm.
And to
Right.
be cognizant of that. That is
Absolutely.
why you have open line of communication to have those questions answered. Completely understand the other day with that perspective of maybe thinking that we're hiding or whatever the case may be. But that's a norm as well, and maybe we can share information to have that understood. The information is public as well, so if anybody would want some of that information, then they have access to it and be able to review it as well.
And we've
Yes,
changed our
yes,
procedures to where board members have 3 minutes, but then we have a second go around where once you conclude 3 minutes, you'll get another 3 minutes, and then that will be the end of it. But I think Ms. Alejo and I, or at least I try to, when I look at the agenda items, if I think it's something that needs to be a discussion and possible action, because the community is going to want to hear about it, we move it into discussion and possible action. Absolutely. If it's a standard item, it's consent, but if it's something that's going to catch the eye of the community, I will move it into discussion and possible action. Okay? Okay, so I think that concludes our calendar. Okay. Any other questions before Michelle moves on those items? Any other questions? No?
Okay, so we'll go to number 4, board resources. Okay, so if Mike, if you would help me,
Were we moving 6 to 4?
I thought we were doing, yeah, are we doing board resources next? I thought that's where we were.
We just did 3.
Okay, board process, okay.
So, are we doing board operating procedures now?
Yeah, it's board
Operating procedures.
Yeah.
Okay,
Absolutely.
that's for you, Ms. Brown.
Before I go into board operating procedures, I'd like to go over BE local if I can. Everything's on the website. You just go to our website under board. You'll find Lone Star Governance, you'll find our board operating procedures, you'll find resolutions. Just about everything that you ever wanted to know is under BE local.
And BE local is actually printed in tab 4, if you'd like to.
Oh, okay.
You'd like to read
And
it.
pretty much just a brief go over the BE local. BE local is titled board meetings and meeting place and time. Notice for a board meeting shall reflect the date, time, and location of the meeting. There's, when the meetings are posted, there's 2 locations that they have to be posted in. There's, if you've never noticed it, there's some glass cases out in the front there. Michelle, on Friday before she leaves, will go out there and post those agendas. And then now, since we have internet, it has to be posted on the internet as well, and that's under board book. And that's available to the public as well.
Scheduled meetings. If you go into our website under school board and then scheduled meetings, that's where they're posted on the website.
So the glass case in the lobby or outside?
No, outside.
Okay,
Outside, right, exactly. And then regular meetings, as you know, our meetings are normally held every 3rd Wednesday of the month at 6 o'clock. If necessary and determined for the convenience of board members, the board president may change the date, time, and location of a regular meeting with proper notice. We have in the past, and it's something that I would like to consider doing again, we've taken our meetings to the campuses. We've had them at our middle schools because that is the hub for the elementaries, and it's received very well. The community is able to go out there and listen to our meetings. As you've seen here, we don't get much of the community at our meetings here. Kind of like credit unions out there, huh?
Oh, no one ever comes to a credit union. We would be shook if anyone should.
So, yeah, so there is times where maybe we can change the meeting to a different location. Special or emergency meetings, those are at the board president's discretion or on request by 2 members of the board. Board president shall call an emergency meeting if it is determined by the board president or 2 members of the board that an emergency or urgent public necessity as defined by law warrants the meeting. Legal counsel is always asked when we think that there's a meeting, emergency meeting, of course, that's what we have him for, to guide us to make sure that that meets the definition of an emergency meeting. I've never had, since I've been on board, an emergency meeting, so.
Take a tornado or something.
We don't ever have to have one. Although we did here, when we had the flooding in West Campus, we had to have an emergency meeting. That's exactly right. You're right. The agenda, the deadline for submitting items for inclusion is the 14th calendar day before regular board meetings and the 14th calendar day before special meetings. In suggesting items for board action, board members shall solicit and consider the opinion of the superintendent as to any impact that the proposed action shall have on the operations or administration of the district. If you're thinking of submitting an agenda item, I would consult with Ms. Sandequan and get her feeling on what kind of impact is it going to have, how much preparation is staff going to have to make and do, for this. So, yes, definitely so. Agenda items are submitted after the deadline, but before the 72-hour notice requirement may be placed on the agenda with the approval of the board president. The agenda belongs to the board. Superintendent and staff provide us things that they want approved by the board, but ultimately the board president approves the agenda. So there may be items, and there have been in the past, that maybe were not time sensitive, but we had a large agenda, and so I've asked Ms. Sandequan or Dr. Flores at the time, can this wait till the following meeting? Is it something urgent? Do we have to have it now? So there may be times that maybe an item's not placed on the agenda until the next meeting. The same for when a board member requests an item. You can request the item, but it's at the discretion of the board president whether the item will be placed on that agenda or at a future meeting. So, but I always encourage board members, if you have items placed on the agenda and it's something that needs to be dealt with, it'll go on the agenda. Now, if it's something that can be held off for a future meeting, like the next meeting, I'm not saying 6 months later, but like the next meeting, then if it has to, it has to. Superintendent shall prepare a draft agenda. As I said earlier, it's called a preliminary agenda. All topics by that time have been submitted in a timely fashion by the staff and the board member. Before the agenda is finalized for any meeting, the superintendent shall consult the board president to ensure the agenda and the topics included meet with the board president's approval. In reviewing the preliminary agenda, the board president shall ensure that any topics the board or individual board members have requested to be addressed are either on that agenda or scheduled for deliberation at an appropriate time in the near future. The board president has the authority to remove from the agenda a subject requested by a board member shall not have authority to remove from the agenda a subject requested by a board member without the board member's specific authorization. Once an item is placed on the agenda that you requested, I cannot at the last meeting or at the meeting say, I'm removing this item. The only one that can remove it is the board member that placed the item on the agenda. Okay? Let's get through that. Order of business. The order of business for a regular meeting shall be as set out in the agenda accompanying the notice of the meeting. Reports, consent, action items, and so forth. The board shall observe the parliamentary procedures as found in Robert's Rules of Orders. Consent agenda. When the agenda is prepared, the board president shall determine items, if any, that qualify to be placed on the consent agenda. A consent agenda shall include items of a routine and or recurring nature grouped together under one action item. So all those items are one vote to approve action items or consent items 1 through whatever the number is. For each item listed as part of a consent agenda, the board shall be furnished with background information, as I stated. All such items shall be acted upon by one vote without separate discussion unless a board member requests that an item be withdrawn for individual consideration. The remaining items shall be adopted under a single motion and vote. Discussions and limitation. Discussions shall be addressed to the board president and then the entire membership. Discussions shall be directly solely to the business currently under deliberation. And the board president shall halt discussion that does not apply to the business before the board. Discussion with the staff shall be directed to the superintendent unless a member of the staff is presenting at the podium. So if there is questions for staff, you direct it to Ms. Sendejo first, and then she calls an appropriate staff member to come to the podium and answer the questions you might have. The board president shall also halt discussions if the board has agreed to a time limitation for discussion of an item, and that time limit has expired. Aside from these limitations, the board president shall not interfere with debate so long as members wish to address themselves to an item under consideration. So as I mentioned, it's 3 minutes for the first round and then another 3 minutes the second round. Okay? And that this is all BE, local, it's in your policy. There's also, I want to say BEC and BED. One is legal and one is local. So, look through your policies. I don't expect, we used to get, before they went online, we used to get a binder this big, all kinds of policies.
Now you can search it.
What else? How, all those trees. But that has stopped. Everything is online. I like to touch my paper. I don't like it online. I like to be able to.
Course with my kid. My kid is teaching me because I'm the type, I like to flip and read old school.
So, okay. So that's pretty much local. I think I've gone through all that. The next one is the board operating procedures.
So you do have in your tab that's marked 6, but now it's 4, is a printout of the current board operating procedures. Do you want to go over that? It's 6 on yours.
Oh.
Yeah.
The last board operating procedures were adopted and signed by all the board members in June 19, 2019. These have to be revisited annually, and since what I'd like to do is do that, but once we get our 7th board member, so that we can all have input. But this gives you an idea of the board operating procedures. It's pretty much kind of like BE, but it's conducting board meetings, addressing the president, interruption of board president, interruption of member speaking, recognition of trustees in debate, speaking more than once in a single debate. That's what I just mentioned to you about. We cannot go over 21 minutes. If it's 3 minutes per board member, so 21 minutes, but we've extended it now to another 3. So it's actually 42 minutes, I guess, if everybody goes the second round.
That can take up a lot of time.
It can, exactly.
Yes, I'm scared.
And usually it doesn't, nobody ever goes over them. It's rare. Unless we have a hot topic, then it's going to go over, definitely so. Questions to the staff, that's self-explanatory. You direct them to the superintendent, and then she in turn has the staff answer your questions. The use of electronic devices is prohibited. We've had issues with that in the past, so while you're at the dais, and even in closed session, you can't be...
Closed session, I was sure, okay, that you don't want electronic stuff here
But no,
You can have them, you just can't be on them in case of an emergency, we're asked to stay.
Yeah, if your phone goes off and you have to answer it, you're welcome to get up and go outside.
I know, closed session, if someone's keeping a digital record, then that can be requested by the public, so.
Absolutely. And also, it's in open session. If you're there like this, it's disrespectful to the people in the audience. And it could be a violation of the Opens Meeting Act. Don't who you're texting to. So we have to be very careful about that, okay? Communication between board members. Board members will observe the conditions of the Texas Open Meeting Act at all times. Board meeting in circumvention of the act. Board members may not conduct a poll by any means or method to determine how each board member will vote on any public issue or to discuss public business in circumvention of an open discussion of an issue by all board members at a legally called meeting. When we go in closed session, if there's items for discussion, we can express our opinion, but we cannot take a vote in closed session. So there may be a time where everyone gets to say something, and that's it. You can't vote. The voting happens out here.
In front of the public.
Absolutely. Okay. Board members may contact one another for the sole purpose of determining a date, time, or place to hold a special board meeting, or to place an item on the agenda of a special call meeting. If you have questions on any of these items, feel free to call me or Ms. Sendeco. We'll be glad to answer any questions you might have on these. Okay. Board members visiting campuses, administration building, and other district facilities. And I'm not going to go through the whole thing, it's quite lengthy. But Ms. Sendejo, your superintendent, when you're visiting a campus, you must call Ms. Sendejo and notify her that you're going to be visiting a campus, especially if it's during the school day, because you don't want to interrupt instructions that is going on at the campus level. As a parent, that's a little different. I think Stacy's a parent, Shirley's a parent. When it has to do with their child, then you're going there as a parent, and you must, say, I'm here as a parent and I have a question regarding my child. But if you're just there to go and visit, I think you need to let Ms. Sendejo know and why you're going. In fact, I did that today. I called her and I said, can I have permission to go to Dwight? We've got some really great kids that are being recognized, 7th graders, if you've not seen it, that are going to be part of that special TIY or TIP project with Duke University, which is awesome. And so I asked her, because there's no names on the Twitter, and I wanted to get the names of the students. So I asked to visit the principal, and she was nice to oblige, and Ms. Sandoval at Dwight was nice. If you've not been to the campuses, and Gilbert says they're already happening, they're starting to put the best covers on windows and doors. Have you seen them?
Yeah.
They look good.
They're awesome. I was like,
I was telling her
wow.
about the
They are
South
awesome.
Ontario.
If you ever gone to
too.
a campus, you need to see it.
Yeah, I think it's Gira helping with that, is that
Yeah,
right?
it's
Yes,
so
Gira,
good.
yes.
It really
Right.
stands out. I love
They,
it.
right. We'll have to snap the picture of the ones that just
It's really
came
neat.
up.
Really, really neat. So I recommend you go by your campus and check it out. But yes, make sure you notify the superintendent if you're making any visits. You can attend athletic events, evening events, anything after hours. You don't have to notify Ms. Sendejo unless you're telling me different. But I think the previous superintendent did, want you to tell him that you were going to an event. But I think if it's after hours, the public's invited. Although we're board members, we're still public as well, so
I think it's just been really formality, and everyone has shared that in general, so we appreciate that anyway.
Right.
Mine will be quick tomorrow, so I don't know if everybody's familiar, but Five Palms has a rock garden. And you paint rocks with different things, and I noticed there isn't too much activity, so I made them like 15.
Oh, sweet.
And I'm gonna go add and
Okay. Yes, so just let Ms. Sendejo know. Relations with staff, district staff, and media. This is important. Board members must not direct, order, or suggest to any district staff how to best accomplish their assigned tasks. Any questions, complaints, comments, or suggestions about district operations should be directed to the superintendent. The superintendent may, at his or her discretion, decide how to best address the board members' questions, complaints, comments, or suggestions. And let me just kind of tap on this a little bit. You're going to get, I know I do, complaints. When you're out visiting the campus, you'll hear it from either staff or parents or a student. Someone will complain to you. What you do is listen, and you do nothing. You take notes of what's being said, and then you call the superintendent and inform her of the issue at hand. And then it's up to her to investigate or to check into it and report back to you whatever the findings are. But there's nothing, I think they think we can fix everything, and we can't.
Should we contact you directly or go through Michelle so that she can kind of filter and value your time?
It can be directly, Mr. Roscoe, and we'll speak a little bit about the communication and the process that we follow. been privy to some of it based on what happens day to day. So there's different forms, and by all means, if you don't hear from me as quickly as maybe Miss Michelle, I typically include her anyway, and she's privy to the information. So it's a team effort.
Absolutely. Okay. Board members must at all times maintain the dignity and respectability consistent with their positions as leaders and fiduciaries of the school district. Board members must at all times maintain a professional and respectful relationship with administrators, employers, teachers, and students. However, this procedure shall not violate board policy DGBA local, which allows employees to have direct communication with board members relative to district operations. Board members shall not be prohibited from socializing with employees outside of work hours on a personal, non-school related basis. Board members may not at any time assume a participatory role as a trustee with staff or students unless specifically requested by campus staff. Sometimes campus staff will call you and ask you to go and read to the students. They have weeks where they go and read. So there's nothing wrong with that. You just let Ms. Ndeka know that you've been invited by the campus and the principal, and when you're planning to be there. All media inquiries received by board members will be forwarded to the school district public information officer, which is Ms. Collier, if you're not familiar with her, for an official response of the district from that office. We all get media calling us wanting comments. They want a story and they're going to be calling. I tend to get most of them only because I'm sitting on that chair. Otherwise, hopefully they wouldn't be calling me. But I have responded in the past, especially if I think what they're asking me is not fair, and their, media has not been good to South San. And I'm sure, Kevin, you've seen it in news, and we get ripped.
There's a couple that can get you more than others, but yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, PIO should be the one to respond, but they'll always try and get one or two of us to respond, because they like to get both sides of the story before they write something. But I'll send something to Ms. Ndeko and let her know there's something in the news, or I got a call, or something. So it's good to keep everybody informed of what's going on, especially if there's a hot issue that comes up. Hopefully those days are over. We've done what we needed to do, and then we can move peacefully, I hope, with the right trajectory. So the superintendent shall share all requests for information with all board members. Information from staff. In order to become competent fiduciaries, I think I read that already. Board members must be cognizant of the fact that an overly voluminous request for information or a request for quick response may be unduly burdensome to the superintendent or staff members. Consequently, board members must balance the reasonableness of the request with the potential for disrupting district operations. Reference Texas Education Code 11.1512C. The law now says that if a board member requests or reports or information, that they keep record now. Who the board member is, how much time did it take, I think how long did it take to prepare it. So, and then I'm not sure, I've got to check, Michelle, do we need to report any of that at the end of the year, or?
I don't know for sure. I have heard that some districts post it on their website so that the community knows, but I don't know if that's because it's a legal requirement.
Okay. Dee, do you know, is that something that has to be reported out by the board? Dr. Gilbert?
Internal. It's internal.
It's internal?
Internal.
Okay. All right.
Boards are looking for a way to publicize it, but it is internal.
Okay, good. All right. But they do keep track of that, so let's be considerate. It takes a lot of time to prepare reports. Dr. Sandek, Miss, I'm going to promote you yet.
That's confirmation.
Miss Sandek has been really good about providing us a lot of data and a lot of information. So we've not had to request anything anymore so far. So she's been very good. As reports come out, whether through TEA or TASB or some other entity, she shares with us information. So I don't foresee that happening, if very limited at all, right? So I think we've nipped that in the bud. Superintendent shall share all requests for information to board members. Closed session. Board members agree that matters discussed in closed session must remain confidential until or unless a vote is taken on a matter that thereafter becomes public. Board members further agree that disclosing closed session matters to the public is prohibited. Consequently, board members shall not disclose closed session discussions and deliberations to any member of the public. Questions on that?
We had a north side member get in trouble for that recently.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to be real careful, that's right. And the media will push and push and push to try and get you to say something. Okay, consequences and sanctions. The board president, after corroborating any violations of the operating procedures, may issue a warning in writing to the offending board member. The president will advise the board of trustees of this action. The board of trustees may consider an official public reprimand at a board meeting. The violations will be read into the record of the board proceeding in the open session. The board of trustees will vote on this matter as appropriate. And then we all sign this. This will also have to come back to everybody. There might be some changes you want to make on this. If everybody's happy with it, we can go with it. But it's got to be reviewed at a meeting and an action taken to approve it again so that we can all sign it and date it. So once we get our 7th board member, we can revisit this again. Okay? Okay, so that's the operating procedures. Number 5 is Lone Star Governance overview. I think we shared our calendar. I brought that with me. I don't know if you all have the calendar.
Yes, in the tab there is the monitoring calendar. You also have the framework participant manual. There's a page. Oh,
yeah.
For the calendar?
I need to ask Dee.
Tab 7.
We had to start over again once before. We had previous vacancies. So I suspect that once we get our 7th board member in, that we will have to start over again.
It depends how far you've, excuse me, how far you've come since the last one, because you could be when you're adopting your goals or looking back on all those indicators to see where you're at.
Okay.
Because you could have more points and not be at 0.
So once we get our 7th board member in, we should have a workshop, a Lone Star Governance workshop.
Yes, ma'am.
Correct. Now, I looked at the calendar, Michelle, and for October, it does say board's quarterly progress tracker, superintendent C1, CPM 1.1 workshop. So we need to have a workshop in October then. So would it be a workshop on the goal progress measure 3.1, 3.2, and goal 3, or is it a workshop to begin again?
We're going to have to look at, there's 2 things going on. One, just pure Lone Star governance, and the other is with House Bill 3 and looking at the goals. You guys are way far ahead of most districts in the state, but looking at making your goals and your goal progress measures all 5-year targets, 5 years out. Because right now, I think we were at 3.
Yes.
So looking at that and looking at the topics of your goals, because there are some requirements now for early childhood, for literacy and math, and for college, career, and military ready.
We did, right? And that was something that we had previously asked to potentially come back and visit because they were attained already.
That's right. Okay.
Right.
Well, we'll have to look at having a workshop then after our board meeting.
Yes.
Maybe before the end of the month.
Or maybe 1st of November.
Is that okay?
Mhm.
Okay, because it's scheduled for October, so it's okay if it overlaps till November.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And with Lone Star Governance, we have a meeting coming up at the end of the month. So there's going to be some other changes with the House Bill 3 in your rubric and in the manual so that it's all in alignment.
Wow. Okay.
Waiting until
Okay.
it's
Mhm.
adjusted.
So do we have to do this in October, or do we just postpone it till November?
You could, I think in November, the beginning of 1st of November, to look at those, like Ms. Cinda Hill was talking about, the ones that you've mastered already, and extending those or creating new ones around that, whatever the will of the the school, the superintendent staff, and you guys where you want to be.
So do you want to take all of the Lone Star governance items that we're reporting for October and move it to November 1st?
Yes. I think
Okay.
so.
Okay.
I think, it's the first week in November, depending on when the availability of the board members are, so we can have it that first week. Thursdays.
We'll work with it. Okay, I'll send it all.
Okay, we'll poll the board for you on Mondays or Thursdays. Is that okay, Sharon?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're busy on Tuesdays.
Monday and Tuesdays are busy days in the village, but
Maybe we can do Thursday. Kevin?
The third Tuesday of the month, I do credit union board meeting, and I'm pretty open.
Thursdays work for you then? Thursday. Okay, so Rodriguez, is a Thursday good for you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So
This
let's make
November, yes, as I look at my calendar.
First Thursday of November.
First Thursday in November then.
Okay.
And Ms. Prado, we have until the end of this school year to be in compliance with HB3 on the goals.
Okay.
So we have time for that.
Well, the sooner we get it over with.
Of course.
And what day is the first Thursday of the
This
month?
The 7th.
November 7th.
7th? Okay. All right. Okay, let's plan for a special call meeting. So this is the 3-year monitoring calendar. Michelle has been excellent in keeping track of all this. She has a lot of work that she has to do. I don't know if there's anything else. In fact, since it also includes the superintendent C1, constraint 1, and we have now Ms. Sendejo, how are we going to handle that?
I know last time you created new constraints, so you have that choice of keeping the constraints or creating new ones. Whatever you feel at that time, what's going to be in the best interest.
Okay. And everything should be in your
discussion.
Yeah, everything should be in your packet. All the constraints, all the all the goal progress measures. The acronyms, it just takes a little getting used to. The GPM, the C, and whatever the others are.
Don't worry, that's going to be your homework.
That's LSG, right?
Cover the hours.
I asked for this like months ago, so I was able to get a copy.
Oh,
When
okay.
we go through the board, you want to be
Sure.
familiar
Sure.
as the community members, so I got it.
It's
It's a door.
So, yeah.
So will we be looking at all of these soon?
Yes.
Yes.
The percentages just recently got changed because when they first did that, they were high, that they were, yes, they were really, to master
Like
and,
the CCMR, we're not sure whether we're going to land on that. Last rumor was 60%.
right, well,
Ouch.
absolutely, so some of them are very high. So I know we want to reach that master, but we need to meet first before we meet master, so I'm feeling we'll have a very productive meeting and there'll be a lot of changes going on these constraints and goals, so that'll be good. So you've got all the data on that. There's also, and I don't know if Michelle gave it to you, it's the AE Local, the educational philosophy. Okay, Michelle can give that, send that to you electronically. And it gives you your vision, our vision, theory of action, board's constraints for the superintendent, board's constraints for the board, our goals, our core beliefs, and strategies, and learner outcomes. It's just information that you need to look at. And it's AE Local. And it was adopted on October 10, 2018. Okay. And I think that's it on the board operating procedures. Are there any questions on any of these? That's a lot of information for you all to look at and read, but it's very informative. What you learn, the acronyms and the student outcome goals and the percentages and everything, most of the work that's done, I have to give her credit, is Michelle and staff. Staff does most of the work because when they present to us, they're the ones who come to us with the data and where we stand and the assessments and how they are on the goal and their percentages. So I can't give the staff enough credit for all their hard work. And then Michelle, she's tremendous on the calendars and to make sure we have everything we need for our goals. So she's the expert. She goes to a lot of training on that, so she knows a lot about it. But I think it's a good thing. I think having Ms. Drummond and Mr. Vada with us from Region 20 helps us a lot. And I hope we can continue to work with them. They come to all our meetings, and we really do appreciate that. So I think that's all I have on the board operating procedures. So the next item,
Okay, so then I think we're going to board resources, which is year number 4, our new number 6. So Mike, if you would be so kind as to help me with this one, navigate through the website. So I'm just going to show you guys where you can access some of our stuff. So if you hover over our school board tab, if you click on the first one, Mike, it's board members. Here you can familiarize yourself with our current trustees. There you guys are. And you do have an opportunity to submit a bio for yourself if you would like for the community to know who you are a little better. If you go down to the scheduled vacancies, or I'm sorry, scheduled meetings, that's where we said that you would find where we post new meetings. And that has the historical
That has
on
the
the left.
public-facing notes.
Yes, that's just the official posted notice.
Gotcha.
Yes. So if you go into the next tab to the board meeting book, this is where the public can view, if you click on October 7th, this is where they can view our actual agenda packet that has, if we had backup documentation for this, that's where it would be. You guys also have a personal login to board book, but you can access the same information from there as well.
Michelle, do you want to show them one that actually has backup?
Sure, of course.
They can see
Mike,
what
if
it
we
looks
can
like.
go to the last regularly called meeting, so that one would work. So then if we go to agenda packet, and then the hyperlink that's there, if you open one of those, Mike, that's the actual agenda item that the board was asked to approve or that we presented.
Michelle, can you help there? This is the document that I had mentioned to you all earlier. In between description and recommendation, what you will see now is a historical piece there.
Yes.
And that will give you that reference to the historic, if there is any historic information in regards to that particular agenda. It might help just clarify much of maybe the consent or where it goes. Exactly. It will go a long way. I really do feel that it will, and it's something that we just discussed. And we felt that it would be very appropriate, especially now with new board members coming on board as well. And sometimes we just forget, and it's just great to come back and say, oh, I didn't realize that.
Right. So then the next one is the board approved minutes. That's where you will find, if you want to know what action the board took at a specific time, you can reference that. The next tab is the school board policy. So if you go into there, that one is actually run through Policy Online. That's a TASB software. If you go into that search engine there, Mike, and just hit AE, so there is where, and then search, this is how you would locate a policy that you want to look at. So if you go into AE local, that's our local district policy. The next one, Mike, the local, you go into the PDF version of it, it'll show you our actual policy. And anything, and it's not only the actual letters, you can search board meetings, and it'll show you all of our policies linked to our procedures with board meetings. Next tab, if we hover, and then we have the approved, okay, go, board operating procedures, that's just the one that you guys have printed out for you. Resolution, that campaign finance reports, that's where we post, Chad will bring me some, our director of purchasing will bring some campaign finance reports that you guys have to do every 6 months. And then we post them on our website. Anytime we have elections going on, there's an elections tab. Our Lone Star governance, I want to go over that one with you. There's a lot of helpful information on there. And that I do update, and with Ms. Danielle's help, we update it all the time with our latest and greatest information. So everything is housed in that section. So if you have any questions on our constraints or our board trackers, our quarterly progress trackers, any of that, it's all in there.
If I can speak to the
Sure.
Lone Star governance, I just noticed at the very bottom, we had two-way board communication meetings back in 2018. We were supposed to have it again this year, once a year. Maybe once all 7 of us get back, we can go back to having those two-way communication meetings. And they're also at the campuses, and the board runs those meetings. And I think you've been to some of them, Stacy, so you know. Some of them are on finances, one may be on finances, the other one was actually an explanation on Lone Star governance, and then there was a third one, and I can't remember what the topic was, but there was 3. So that gives us credit for Lone Star governance on our tracker, wherever we are. And it's good because the community has a lot of questions. People don't know what Lone Star Governance is. When we discuss it here, they have no clue.
Yeah.
So it's like, what is LSD? So it's good, a good learning, teaching tool, and it's a good two-way communication, although sometimes they go and they ask you nothing about what you're talking about.
That's when it gets very tired.
Yeah,
I'm being very mindful of
But
that.
staff is there to take down questions,
Yeah.
and then they post the questions online and the answers if they can't get their questions that night. So I think it's effective. You know, sometimes it's not necessarily the topic we're talking about, but we get a lot of good feedback. So I think we need to go back to doing that, you know, once we get the other member on board and take it back to the community.
And those are really positive because it doesn't have to be the whole team there. It could be missing by bands or if
Two or
two
three
can
board
make
members
it
at a
right,
time.
that benefits. Because then you're out in the community, speaking to a specific topic that may be of interest to the community. And they do go a long way.
And the last board resource that I would like to mention is our field service agents from Region 20, Dan Drummond and Ed Vada. They are amazing, and I've seen them help all of the superintendents that I've served as well as our board members. So thank you so much, Dan. All right, and we can move on to the next one.
Okay, so that was number 5. We're done, Michelle?
Yes, that was done.
Okay, so number 6 is board resources. Ms. Sandeva and Michelle.
That's the one that we just did, so now we're on to number 7. Yes, State of the District Department Overview.
Okay, so number 7 is State of the District Department Overview.
Yes. And the first one in there is our district map. Mrs. Sandeva,
Before we start, Ms. Sandeva, can we make this a meeting where people can eat
I
and
think
work at the
so.
same time?
That would be good.
I think nobody has supper, I'm sure, so let's grab a plate and we can discuss and eat at the same time.
And so then you get to do two separate.
Oh, I ate before
Right.
I ate before I came here. But thank you though. Actually had time to eat, yeah. Yeah, I did. That was awesome.
You almost made me cold Friday. You almost made me cold Friday.
Oh, yes, yes. Yeah. No, that was awesome.
Yeah, they're awesome.
I'm trying to, I don't think it's
I kind of am too.
I think it's,
My wife, like, she gets so mad. She's like,
we're looking to try to get right here, we're still on the south side.
That's funny.
Over there, right? They just don't have sod that's big enough to support.
So I think I might wait for that.
Presentation, hoping that she'll come to the
Yeah, we're getting
I am. I just wanted to make sure.
Me too.
Yes.
No, Stacy, go ahead.
So you're thinking, because Mrs. Bradley to like,
Okay, I know the catering department has
It's over the minute.
barbecue. As long as they're double, then you've got my vote.
Sure, it's good.
I'm positive. I did. I ate before I came here.
Come on, what did they teach in the Marine?
I
Because it's time.
right.
I need like 3 of them. 8? Yes, I love them. You don't know what I don't think.
I'm gonna guard some cookies because I know that's what everybody wants.
Stop it. Mike, can I serve you?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Lorraine, that's what you're having.
No, no, I'm
I wasn't
Oh, I should probably get a fork.
12 years old. My mom was telling me stories. And we have to keep them in the freezer because as a kid, I didn't like chocolate.
Oh, they do have chocolate.
I'm sorry. I'm guarding
You got
the
her?
cookies.
Got it. Here we go. Lame. What was that?
I know.
The deviled egg and a piece of bread. That's
Perfect combination. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
We have a sad little plate here.
Get a little warm and then.
It wasn't that hot in the beginning, right?
Oh, but wait, we had a cold front go through.
Cold. What time are the girls
Got
going
us
to
down to
Mr.
83.
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
At Kennedy.
Get there. Okay. That's
I
okay.
gotta get my jacket
Why so
out.
happy we're going to, we're leaving Friday evening.
Yeah, which is, you know, the fall ball, the
Yes.
yeah. Unofficial.
Yes. Right now it's fall ball softball and fall ball
Softball.
basketball
Basketball,
too.
yeah.
It's going on.
Yeah, somebody that likes to play.
Didn't work.
The girls that are seniors now were freshmen when my daughter played, so I've seen them, yeah, so.
Really good, fun socks.
I had to wear, I had to wear athletes. And they let me down.
Oh, my goodness, I didn't even,
It was cool.
what was this?
No, they're playing. Afternoon.
No, I had two big bowls of tortilla soup.
Today?
Yeah, today.
Homemade?
At home. It was good.
Did you cook?
No, I didn't. I didn't get home in time.
Haven't had that in a while.
It was good. And then the chips, the corn chips are homemade.
Oh, really? Wow. That's fancy, sir.
Somebody
has
That's why I'm not hungry.
I'm drinking cereal right now.
I was trying to be thinking.
Dad and son went in this day time.
Well, I haven't cooked actually since I got sick.
Yes.
So we've been looking forward to that. Very happy, for sure. I can show that again right now. Today, it's in my butt. Otherwise, it goes there. I'm trying like a baby, I think.
You've had them?
Nope, I don't ever care to either.
Horrible. No, okay, I heard that.
I had it once before and I had to run that time around.
That's just good. You know? It's good.
But I don't know about that. But I didn't eat all of it, but I'm gonna eat here.
Because we use a few days.
Yeah.
But it's not good.
It's texted.
Yes, sir.
In the kitchen downstairs.
You're amazing.
Pretty good.
Yeah, it is.
Well, for us, they don't follow all the
All the
regulations.
They're allowed to use
They use
salt.
salt.
Right.
They don't follow what my son says. He says, I don't care what they revert from all that. Go back and revert Michelle Obama stuff.
Oh, my cafeteria ladies love it and complain about all the new rules.
Ms. Pardo, if I could just share with everybody, I signed up, it's funny that you mentioned the public comment, the changes in the public comment. So there's a webinar on Monday, a free webinar that Tasby's doing from noon to 1, I believe. That's exactly about that, about the changes for the public comment. So I register, I figure I'll spend my lunch catching up on those changes, if anybody else is interested.
Okay. Can you send a?
Yes.
Thank you, Dean. Good job.
As always, thank you very much.
See you again.
You don't want these. Maybe when you get to be my age.
Got it.
So like, yeah, but he's over here, keep
Have a good night.
You too. I said at this table with you toes.
While you're enjoying your dinner, we're looking at tab 5. A few items now. And then just please stop if there's any particular questions that you may have, and I know that we're going to, there's several of us that are going to chime in this section. And the first document that you see is obviously your district map, district plan with every district, so it gives you an idea if you're not familiar maybe with the others, or just a big major picture, and then of course the population and the breakdown of ethnicities is also listed there, so it's again for you to take a look. The second,
If I may
Yes,
say
of course.
something, speak to that. Every 10 years, we have to redistrict, and our time is up next year, 2020. So next year, we'll probably be putting that on the agenda for discussion. There is one attorney that we've always used that does the redistricting for us. Excuse me, his name is Orlando Rios. And so when the time comes, just to give you a heads up, we'll probably contact him and let him know so that he can start looking at our district and checking the populations. Excuse me, they have to be, the lines have to be contiguous. They have to be back to back. It can't be a separation. That's right. So he's very good at that, and but we'll have to look at the lines next year with the 2020 census. And as you know, they're already recruiting people to go out and do census and take counts and everything.
Are
So
we going
it'll
to
be
keep
up.
single-member districts most likely?
Yes, it'll be, yes, for the single member district. So depending on the population, we're going to have a lot of growth up here, so that's going to, those numbers are going to increase.
Yeah, that was going to be my question, if I may. Is it just our existing boundaries?
It's
or
just
is-
our district,
Okay.
it's South End, actually the South End. They look at the population, where there's been an increase or a decrease. If there's been an increase up here, they say the numbers have really increased, then they'll change the lines in another district, so it balances out. I'm sorry, go
well,
ahead.
no, I was going to share, Dr. Gilcrease had mentioned that there have been some conversations about single number, and there's still some conversation happening as to what that would look like, if it would impact us or not, time, on that. Any other questions on the map?
Some of the school boundaries don't follow these boundaries exactly, correct?
I would say more to some extent that.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
So-
Like the attendance zones, is that what
Like
you mean?
these,
No.
the attendance zones are.
No, it's different.
It's different.
Tenant zone boundaries are different from the school, single-member district boundaries.
These are by the Bear County.
Yeah, they're totally
different.
different.
Boundaries are by us.
Right.
Gotcha.
And then the opportunity for choice as well, Mr. Boswell, is available as well to our students. The next document you have is our current organizational chart. And as you see, there have, I would say, some adjustments here. Mr. Doucette has mentioned that he is now serving as an interim chief of staff for us. And he also has his dual role of purchasing director, so it just kind of comes along with just supporting and coming together. We have several interims. I myself is serving as the chief academic officer for our district, which overall, the big picture, what we have done is really try to allow everything to streamline accordingly. And I pretty much have shared with staff, if I have to sign here and here, that's what we do for the time being as we're serving for the interim purpose.
Dr. Sandeno, on that matter, do you feel that you have the adequate help? Are you okay?
Wait, Ms. Alvarez, it's been a little busy, but I can tell you that from right here next to me, Ms. Lorraine De Leon, Mr. Doucette, Mrs. Orozco, Mr. Becerra, Ms. Mendoza from payroll, just constant name after name, they've all come up to share and support all the efforts that we're putting together. So it has been definitely a team effort. We've extended our cabinet style just a little bit to ensure that we're all informed and what we're capturing. So it's been pretty good as far as so far as feedback just from the team of what we've done to ensure that we're still moving day to day, week to week, and projecting for the future. That is something that we've talked about to say, this is where we are. However, our students are coming every day. They're here, and we need to be ready when they walk into our hallways, into our classrooms, and prepare our teachers and our principals to be ready to receive them. So that takes every single one of us, whether you're serving in a district as an interim or a key position, because we all are, we are all coming together.
That
So.
takes all the pieces.
Absolutely.
All the moving pieces, but you know, both roles that you're playing are major.
Yes.
Especially with what we've had happen lately in our district. So you being the chief academic officer and then also the superintendent, just make sure that you have adequate support and wherever you need it, because so far, I mean, it's been great.
Right.
You know,
But thank you for sharing that and validating, and yes, we've made some adjustments internally that have been really purposeful and targeted to better support what happens. And it comes back to what we do for our students. And that's the important piece, and I feel that as long as we're still communicating that from day to day and make the expansions that we've made just for the communication side of it, it has been beneficial for us, so, yes. And then, of course, against what time, we'll make some adjustments there, wherever else we need to in the time being.
I did start growing my hair out last night.
You did.
I did. Started.
Alongside there, you will see, at this time, we will be posting for a chief financial officer here soon. So that will definitely assist us. We did make a internal interim adjustment, and that's on the business and finance side, so that has assisted as well alongside with Mr. Doucette. That has been very helpful. On the payroll area and the team there. From there beyond, we've been in a pretty good place with that. Just by making those adjustments, it has really supported us and assisted us as we've transitioned. Then you will see our Human Resources Director, Chief of Police, Public Information Officer, alongside me as Chief Academic Officer as well. And then our Executive Directors, Ms. Orozco and Ms. Lorraine De Leon. We have been fairly steady when it comes to the remainder of the directors and the coordinators in place, but I can tell you we've all again divided and conquered and come together to support every initiative that's in place. So again, it has been definitely a team effort on that end. Principal-wise, we started off busy with adjusting and bringing on new principals, and we're wrapping up a week behind already, getting ready for assessments as well. So it has been, again, a team effort, and looking forward to those gains overall as a district. So more to come on that as well, which will align with part of our constraints and, of course, our goals and outcomes that we'll put in place.
If I may comment,
yes,
I think I can speak for the board. It's nice to see an organization like
Yes.
ours. We never got one. Mr. Rodriguez.
Yeah, I'd like one.
Sorry.
Thank you.
We'll get it out to you soon.
Yes, thank you.
So our budget review and approval process, Mr. Doucette, do you want to?
No.
He's like, sure. And okay, well, we can skip over to Ms. Lorraine first. We're going into our division of academics. You should have a PowerPoint there.
So we're very excited, as Ms. Lejo said, we have a very strong team on the Division of Academics. We have talent, expertise that have a spirit of servant leadership. So we get a phone call from a campus, and immediately from Mr. Luzes to Ms. Mercado to Ms. Shields, and everyone will say, campus is called and I'm headed out. So we always call the Division of Academics Grand Central Station because people are coming and going, but it's been a privilege to serve all of us, to serve the district. So we have what we call our why, and you have to follow along. These are some of the celebrations that we've been extremely proud of. As you know, we had 583 graduates last year, and we also had our first graduating early college cohort of students, as well as almost 7.9 in scholarship money. So again, our work is that so that our kids have many more opportunities when they leave us, and so we feel that we've made really good, strong gains for our students. With the area of dual credit, in fact, we were just awarded some beautiful plaques from Vanuatu with the significant gains we've had in dual credit, with our students just leading.
Participation.
Yes, with participation in games with their college coursework. We believe in what we call the 20-hour threshold, and research says that if we can get as many students to the 20 hours of college credit before they graduate, then it almost doubles their chances of graduating with their bachelor's, because we know that lots of kids will go on to the freshman year and then sometimes don't go on to sophomore year. So we are, whether you're early college or not, we're working to push as many kids to beyond the 20-hour threshold. And so, as you know, we also have, we brought in our pre-nursing program. We also have our culinary arts program, so we're still expanding our CTE programs. We have Fabi Shannon, who's been a wonderful addition to our team, is working closely with St. Louis College and looking at additional partnerships. In fact, there is a webinar at the end of the week for a PTech, and so she's looking at what opportunities we can have here for West Campus.
Yes.
So there's work constantly on how we can continue to increase programs. So for that reason, I want to share a video with you. We say we are going to be more dog always. And this is a video I'd like to share that we share with new teachers the last couple of years, and our brand new teachers in the district love it. And so we always ask our new teachers, and we ask our existing staff, how will you be more dog this year? So if you would allow me to show this video. Have you seen it, sir? It's hilarious.
I used to be a cat. Every day the same. I'd be aloof till lunch, then coldly indifferent after. To me, everything was just, meh. Then it hit me. Why be so cat? Why not be a bit more dog? I mean, look at the world today. It's amazing. Running, amazing. Chasing cars, amazing. Sticks, amazing. Carpe diem. It means grab the frisbee. Maybe we should all be a bit more dog.
Be more dog. Start now at BeMoreDog.com.
So we do. We share this and we say that we are going to be more dog because we want many more opportunities for our students.
Thinking outside the box.
Thinking outside of the box, absolutely.
I did also want to share with the academies and just overall looking at the opportunity to come together and have conversations that have been really powerful to ensure that what we are sharing with our students and our parents is the big picture of the vision of these academies that allow us to capture the 7 years. So it allows for families to really understand that we start here, but this is the end in mind, and how can we continue to share that and promote those opportunities, and those are so special to us that are here now that will allow our students to say, this is where I want to be.
I remember
they're here.
No.
Well, attending the meetings, I believe it was Gilbert that had brought up partnering with somebody for cybersecurity. That's major. Major. By the time our kids graduate, that's going to be the thing. And is that something that I haven't seen any other district have? Right. So is that something that we can look at with West Campus?
Edgewood has, in their middle school.
Correct.
Brentwood.
That's actually a CTE pathway now, the cybersecurity.
I will say yes, through St. Philip's, we can absolutely get students through that strand. And right now, we have been partnering with, what is the summer programs that we went to Port San Antonio.
Right.
So they offered courses on coding and cybersecurity. So even our middle school students, we're sending them on those field trips, those mini camps, so they can start partaking in that.
Something I should just, if you go back 2 weeks ago, in the weekly report for you, for the board, there was a snippet in the correlation with the computer science degree in cybersecurity concentration over at Texas A&M San Antonio. So that came up. It was really great last week, Wednesday, when we had the reopening celebration at West Campus. And Dr. Hernandez came over to chat a bit and talk a little bit about the opportunity of obviously the cybersecurity, P-Tech. So again, that's coming to share and present some potential options that are really here, literally in our backyards.
And the reason I ask is because my kid took advantage of the summer program and he did the cybersecurity.
Yes.
And it was one of our teachers that taught it and he loved it. And the teacher was like,
It's a
"What
buzz.
have you been teaching him?" I was like,
It's a
"It
buzz.
wasn't me, he teaches me, but you know, this is something that we can really look into, just like our HVAC CTE, like they graduate with a job already. You know, so this is something that maybe we can look into, because that's major bucks right there for our kids.
Yes, absolutely, yes, ma'am. And like I
And we're
said,
working with technology.
Right.
We push technology on them, so why not offer something that's gonna, to give that pay for them?
and the kids love this, that area with the coding and all of that bit. So yes, so many opportunities. And so Ms. Bobby Shannon again is working with St. Philip's to bring those
And
opportunities.
I know he had some ideas, so if y'all wanna jump over and ask him, because he had some really good ones that I heard. And you know, my kid loves computers, amazingly smart, so it'd be amazing to have that.
Well, I had heard something about someone is offering a degree or certification or something on gaming. Is there such a thing? They were telling me their kids just taking off. The
There are kids
love
that
it.
get scholarships now,
Yes.
athletic scholarships
Yeah,
for
gaming.
My kid is doing that. Actually, we have a program with the school, with the high school right now, where we have a teacher, and they have a program.
They write a program.
So yes, and they can get scholarships out of that program, and then after school programs.
Just as last week, I attended the San Antonio area superintendent's meeting, and one of the topics was gaming as a form of a club to start it off, and there were conversations about North Side, as a matter of fact, shared. They have about 200 students that participate within, and they love it. I mean, there are some parameters that Dr. Woods was willing to share as far as what they're doing with it, but that is an area now that students are definitely gravitating to a lot more. And then, of course, there's dollars tied to it as
Do we
well.
have a criminal justice track, like
Yes.
forensics?
Yes.
Because that, kids are on fire.
Yeah.
for
Right.
some
Yes.
reason.
Yes.
I don't know if they watch a lot of CSI or.
We have the
Marshall.
criminal justice, and we also have the Explorers program for our district. Amazing.
And we have ag, a lot of people don't know we have ag. We have a lot of things people are not aware of.
And we're going on 3 years, I believe, you know, as we saw Palo Alto and Alamo College is offering these mini camps. Our staff started, and Cindy Bill's team has
We
done
did
an
the first round.
amazing job that we have STEAM camps over the summer, so we wanted our students to be able to stay in South San and so forth in these.
It's just activating all the parts of the brain. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's just, it's still reading, writing, arithmetic, like we grew up with, but the way it's implemented now just fires up everything. And they create.
I would also like to
Sorry,
ask,
Pat.
and I brought it up before, but sometimes we don't have the vehicle, or like my son used to stay for hours. And we can't because we don't have a way to get home, so we're not able to get the help that he needs. We have a lot of students that live on this side that either can't join those programs or those extracurricular activities because they don't have that transportation.
So right now, then, we are all around with high school, with Ms. Husband and Dr. Hernandez, and they're open to it. So right now, we're looking at funding sources. so we can get, we're hoping to get a 6 o'clock bus. An Mission bus that will be
Yeah.
the kids at the middle school.
That way everybody at 6, you gotta be here, or we're gonna drop you off, but you gotta be here.
Even if it's just transporting them from one campus to
Yes.
another, so they're closer to home.
Yes.
Which would
Just
be
like
the
the
shuttle
shuttle
line.
Is there like a classes for software design?
Yeah, they do
What,
have
software?
software design.
Yes.
It is.
Well, I think it's about the programming,
Java.
just writing,
What's her name, curly hair?
And then, yes, Dr. Paredes too.
I think so. Pretty hair, it's just amazing.
I agree. Thank you.
So as you can see, so some big initiatives out of the division, and we have a bunch. These are just a few to highlight. Again, we began the academies. This is the second year. And one thing too, I have to say that we have been excited because the early college started in the fall of 2015. And so as soon as we were able to launch the early college, we immediately went back to the planning board to look at what we could do in middle school, thinking of the end in mind. And I will tell y'all, it coincided with a lot of what was going on with the charter movement in our area. But I will tell you, since the launching of the early college, we were already thinking, okay, what's the next level? And even now, we're talking, principals, some principals have expressed, maybe can I have a magnet now at the elementary schools? So we're constantly having that dialogue, what innovation can we have? Because again, we have to get started so much sooner. And it's exciting to see that even the fifth graders, we tell them, when we meet with parents, and we're going to do that next month, that they can start their career really in sixth grade. They can begin on that track.
So we're learning, sorry. So we're learning in another district close to here that campuses that have a hook and a program. So some of our campuses, instead of declining on the waiting list now, is because we started a program that parents are interested, that a lot of the charters just don't have the resources really to start up. We can beat them at
And we've also
get our kids back.
Right, and we've noticed also, and so now we can say that even our STEM, that's probably going to be wall to wall soon. We have more kids that are in the academies that are in their zone students. So-
I love that we focus on pushing them. I love it, the early college, but I also think on the other side of the ball, because I have a son who's amazingly talented, and I have one that struggled all the way through school. So he was with special ed, he had a lot of problems. So I'd like to know, what are we doing for them? Because I have not, in these years that we've been doing this, are we making programs for them, we're focused on STEM, and can we come up with stuff like that for the kids that aren't able to get there?
And one thing that we will tell you that in our second year of the middle school choice academy, that's the one thing when we went out 2 years ago to meet with our schools and our families, some parents said, my child's in special ed, can they be a part of the academy? And we said, absolutely. So right now, the only commitment to go into the academy, there's no selection criteria. The only selection criteria we have is that the child and the parents commit. And we will tell you, we are providing AVID at the middle schools. So our SPED kids are actually having much more opportunities. They're having many more scaffolds, a lot more support. We're doing project-based learning. So, we have not, I'll be honest, had SPED students that we have enrolled. We haven't had to say, no, you can't be in the program. I mean,
What about I'm saying catching them at the foundation?
So if they're not in, let's say,
You know what I
they're
mean.
not in the program itself, the fact that the beauty of having the academies within the school and not standalone is that it just raises everybody up. So as the teachers are working in these PLCs and these learning communities and they're bouncing ideas off, it just can't help but to filter out beyond the academy walls. So you have AVID that is beautiful. I remember AVID decades ago being starting, and that's just a testament to it itself because it's still around and it's still so great. But you just see the academy teachers using it, and it's just such a good practice that you start picking it up and you start using it. And so even if we have those special ed students that don't want to commit, because sometimes you don't want to make a commitment to a program, it's just that they're going to still benefit by it from just being in it. So that's the beauty of having these academies within the buildings
A
themselves.
lot of differentiation. Our teachers are much better now at meeting students, at providing organizers, other resources to
And I
help
think
our
a lot of
kids.
times where we lose them too, though, is at the high school. I mean, I've seen the work, but I can tell you my kid's a PGT student, but they're checking him for autism. It's late in the game. But he's been sitting for 7 weeks in a class with his head down with the teacher thinking that he's just being disrespectful. So that's why I'm asking, there's so many different things. Are we making sure that we're not just focused on this group,
Right,
but this group too? And what kind of training do we provide? Because my kid isn't the first, and I've had a couple of problems with people calling me about autistic children and them not getting what they need or being treated differently. And it's been a major
So
problem.
this summer, and actually, for the last 2 years, the School Climate Transformation Grant, as PBIS was, we knew the money was starting, we knew that we had so much time. So we have done extensive training with regard to the counselors, again, with mental health, with identifying, students with any triggers, anything like that. In fact, this summer, we partnered with CIS, and all our staff, every staff member went through SEL training, social emotional training. And so again, we're just trying to get everyone on board, all teachers. And so we had everyone go through somewhat. We had multiple classrooms, and all the CIS has been a wonderful partner.
And it focused on ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. So it went, ran the gamut, things that you don't want to think about, but you have to now. And you have to know how, when it presents itself in the classroom, how you're going to react and what your resources are, because you can't always do it alone. And just going back to the whole team statement, I mean, I think, I don't know how many times we said that today, visiting different things. It's like, oh yeah, well, it takes a team, and I mean, we just truly are learning together and implementing it together.
Yeah, we're trying to be much more informed, much more informed. So now Ms. Mills is working with the Case and Design team, also collecting parent input on the possible designs. So we'll be getting an update at the meeting with regard to the Case and Choice Academy. Another thing is the Southside Care Zone. Y'all recall last year we had the Cariño Coalition, where we started the coalition to bring in more partners. And at that luncheon in January, we had 38 partners come in, and so all of that so much has evolved since then. Now we have the Jewish Family Services coming to work with Ms. Arciniega. It's just fabulous. Their goal is to bring us a psychiatrist, resident psychiatrist at Athens. I mean, we will be one of the first, probably in the state. So again, CIS has been the connector for us. They have, we cannot thank CIS enough, just the contacts they put us with. They keep bringing us other partners, and so we've got the Rise Recovery, the Bereavement Center, so many partners, Child Safe, that will be assisting us with at the Care Zone. Clarity.
And I'd like to say, I can't say it because my kid does so many things. Ms. Arciniega has been a saving grace to my child. She only has 2 hands, 1 body. And for that mental health with my kid has been, if it wasn't for her, I'd be lost when it comes to school. Because she stays on top of it. She calls me, she checks hard. Yes, it is. She's done amazing with me. And Nico doesn't talk. So for him to even talk to her speaks volumes. She's built that relationship. She's amazing.
And now she is also coaching Diane Salazar, so we have somebody else who's also working with Ms. Arciniega. So again, we have the 3 care zones. That's going to be at Athens, Armstrong, and Palo Alto. We're going to have a clothing closet, and so we have Lowe's right now, who former alumni is coming in, giving us paint, and so they're going to start construction. We're also, Ms. Bobby Shannon is getting us Mr. Antoon's class, so they're going to help build fitting rooms at Athens. So it is going to be the students
At the
also.
campus or at the wing?
At the annex. At the annex.
Are we going to have a washer and dryer? Is that a possibility?
If it's donated? If it's donated, absolutely.
Right. So if I can get it donated, they
That
would
would
have
be
it?
absolutely.
Let us know.
That would be fantastic, ma'am, absolutely.
We're still looking.
Yes, and so we're also
The
gonna,
plumbing issue.
Yeah, we have to get the plumbing.
We'll have to look at the plumbing issue. We also have Armstrong, and so what we wanted to do with these community hubs is offer them at each cluster, start them right, small scale, and then go. So we have one here at Armstrong, that's going to be a clothing closet and a food pantry as well as Palo Alto. So we're hoping that we're going to be set at all points in the school district. Yes, so we're also very excited. We also had talked about at the luncheon about Baby Bobcat School, so we had an opportunity through the community partnership grant. It was actually a requirement for us to visit the Harlem Children's Home in Harlem, and so they have a program where they bring in expected parents and parents of children to bring in under, and it's just helping parents with skills to be better parents and teaching them how to read alongside their children. So that is something that as soon as Yanis is up and going, we are going to be bringing in our expectant parents. Again, it'll be a comprehensive facility, the care zone at Athens. That'll be the major hub, and we'll have some smaller offerings at Armstrong and Athens. Another partner that we're really proud to be part of is the Texas Partner Program with the Department of Health and Human Services. And so what we've done at these 3 care zones is we've equipped the campus with a laptop, and Jose Huerga, our McKinney migrant recruiter, super excited. We now have access to their system, so parents now don't have to travel downtown or anywhere to ask for extended benefits. He was so proud. Last week he came back and he's like, we got our first application in, so we were cheering in our office. I mean, literally everyone was clapping. We were so excited, but again, that meant that the parent did not have to go. And so the parent went online to the Texas Partner Program, and Southend popped up in Armstrong. So he says, it was right down the street. So that's exactly the intent that our families.
When will we push that? Because I can tell you that I have in my corner, like I've helped people come to my house and I help them on the computer. So that is amazing.
Yes, absolutely. So you can just
That's all major.
Yes, they can go to Armstrong, Palo Alto, and he will go, and he's been training the counselors. So we can, again, get parents to get their extended benefits. And then, as you recall, also we are recipients of the Community Partnership Grant. And so that has been very helpful. We're almost at 1.7 million since the June of 18. So in that short bunch, that money has been very helpful with training our teachers. Most of the money, a lot has been on building teachers' content knowledge, and so all of the balanced literacy training. I mean, we offered this summer, Ms. Shields and our team offered over 30 sessions. And we had a brand spanking new teacher from Lila Weinstein, and that teacher said, I've never had so many offerings for professional learning. So it was exciting to see. She's like, I love Southend. And we said, if you come, we'll invest and just stay with us. So that has been a commitment.
With the special teachers, do they get like refresher quarters or extra,
How often are they monitored?
or are they checked on per se?
The inclusion teachers?
Yes.
They're monitored just like the classroom teachers because they actually are co-teaching. Long gone are the days where they're designed, so it's more of a co-teaching model than anything. And so when you walk into the classroom, you're unable to see, oh, well, Denise must be the special education because Mrs. Carrada is sitting by her. And now it's seamless. So they work together, they go to the training together. Even at the middle school, what we try to do is make sure that the two different inclusion teachers have specialties, their strengths. So like math and science, reading and social studies. So they go to the trainings as well and do that. So they're monitored when the administrators walk in, when the coaches walk in. They get to go to the training, they participate. It's important that all the special programs individuals also take part in the data training. So yes, they're very involved.
Yeah, because it's just that I had a concern with my daughter and my grandson, and she would tell me, she was, I don't know if she did, I haven't talked to her, but she was going to pull my grandson out because she was sending him to Hutchins, and he wasn't getting the attention he needed. She would tell him, the teacher, like, hey, my son this and that, and they're like, well, he doesn't participate, but he's autistic, so he's
And
borderline.
whatever we can do is we can definitely have a conversation with you, with your daughter, and see how we can support that.
Yes. Okay, that would be great.
Yes.
Thank you. It's just, not only for him,
for
course.
other students, definitely.
So also, we have our dual language, so as you know, we have our bilingual clusters, and so the goal of the bilingual staff and teachers, actually, we're hearing the price teachers have been saying, when are we going dual language? And so we're super excited that the state now is also increasing the budget for our dual language program. So the spring before last, we brought in Gomez and Gomez, and the gentleman actually gave a training on, he said, develop a solid data exit model, and then y'all will be able to do the seamless transition. So that has been our focus, and so right now, the team, along with Mr. Bundes, they are researching how we can make the language happen here at South San. So
Because the majority of the south
Every-
side is.
Every district except us.
Yeah, and I've got experience in 2 different districts where we started a 2-way dual language program through Gomez and Gomez, and it drew so many families back
There's
into our
waiting lists,
district.
there are waiting lists.
And we have waiting lists on the campuses, and it's phenomenal.
These clusters that we have we been able to monitor progress? Are they doing better than what they were when they were just regular campuses?
Yes,
Because I think studies show that when we put children to speak Spanish with Mono-speaking students, they learn quicker. So how are we measuring that?
we have, actually, the students, actually our bilingual students in some cases have been outperforming the general ed kiddos. And when the intent of that was so, because what we would do is we had 6 kids bilingual, and then it was a bilingual class, but you put in 8 or 9 kids in English. The English language took over, and so we were not fostering the home language. And so our kids actually, have done quite well, and we think with an opportunity to go dual language, that'll just open many more opportunities for our students.
And would that be at all the bilingual campuses?
Right now, we would like to start at the clusters, yes, ma'am.
And it's just something to think of as far as again, another opportunity, because our neighboring district has it at every one of their campuses. So again, it's now.
The challenge is staffing.
Is the staffing.
The staffing is very difficult.
And so a lot of the parents, they don't understand the English, this
Sure.
would be a good bit of help.
Exactly.
So, that's
One of the more conversation.
And it really helps with parent denials.
Yes.
It helps
Right.
eliminate parent denials, because they get excited about entering the kids in that program.
Exactly.
Yeah, because I was one, like my daughter came, hey mom, and she, yeah, this problem, like, yeah.
I do the same thing as you.
I feel bad.
Another initiative that we're doing in the division is our early childhood department. We are networking with area daycares, so we've had 2 meetings already. And we have now, I think, 7 daycares that have come to us, we're offering to do professional development for their teachers, because we figure that they have our future students. And so we are going to train their teachers, and they are ecstatic. But, the one topic that the daycare director asked for was de-escalation. They said that there's little ones, 18 to 24 months, with children who have so much emotional trauma. And so that's the topic. So Ms. Arceniega is actually going to be doing our first session with the daycare providers. And so we're looking at a Wednesday evening where they're going to be coming in. And so we just want to do that, it's just extend that, and then so they can come also to us. We want to make sure that we're the bridge, that the daycares know, like they say in Spanish, they don't gotta go, give it back to us, give us back our babies.
Instead of passing the baton, you're passing the baby.
And this is for the students that have kids that they have on these daycares, or?
It varies, there are daycares within our community.
It's a
Daycares
coalition.
within, it's a-
Is
it's-
that gonna draw away from our pre-K?
No,
This is to entice,
Okay.
to bring the connection and.
It'll be pre-K.
And that's exactly
It's
what the
like a
focus
feeder
is.
process.
And that's exactly the focus, it's the, for the 3 years.
So where all our kids are right now before they get to us, let's make those networking and help them so that once the kids get to us and when they're 4 years old, they're that much further ready.
And then we're like,
Clever.
stay.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Clever.
Can't tell anyone, that's our secret.
It's our baby bobcat population.
Yes.
And to be
And cougars.
We'll just go to baby pops.
There you go. That's a good point.
There you go. And so then also we have here the division is we're awarded the Gear Up program. And so you'll see a lot of the wrapping in the schools. Again, it's promoting, yes, promoting the post-secondary readiness.
Did you go on the other side of this?
The week before with Kira.
It's the windows, did you get to go on the other side of this?
Yeah.
She was there.
So when you see it's solid, but then when you go into like the cafeteria, it's just, you can really see out there.
It's really nice.
Is it gonna be at all campuses or just certain?
Middle
and
middle
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 school.
middle school.
Right.
To start, yes.
And so we're excited, Bill sent a message earlier, she says that they're awarding us $424,000 this year, so that is,
Year Up is a great.
that is additional money for us.
Sustainability is the only issue
Yeah.
I have with them, is what do you do when the grants are?
And then with regard to teaching and learning, Ms. Shields has done an amazing job of training our teachers. And so as you know, we have a balanced literacy framework, and we are, again, we took everyone. Teaching reading is rocket science. It's very technical to teach children how to read. And so right now that has been, we're going into our third year of just focusing and helping teachers be good reading teachers. And so we do pull out, we do summer trainings, so we can get our teachers to be very strong in being very strong reading teachers. And that's where we can differentiate, so the students who may be even sped, we can move them ahead, but we're providing appropriate level texts, and so they are successful, not just having to do the on-grade level work. Also, there's so much to focus. Right now, we are focusing on Kinder 3rd, 6th, 7th, and 8th math. We've been very targeted. Last year, we started with 5th and 8th, and so this year, we increased to Kinder, 3rd, and 6th, and 7th. So again, we're trying to be very targeted, because sometimes if you're focusing on everything, you're, what is it, a mile long?
Mile wide and an
Mile
inch
wide
deep.
and an inch deep. And so we're trying to be very intentional with the training that we're focusing. So this summer, we had over attendance of over 500 teachers that came this summer. And we did lead forward training, I believe June the 4th and 5th. So teachers came right back after school let out. We had the auditorium was full, so we have a just dynamic staff.
We pay them stipend to come, right?
Yeah, we do pay them the $100 daily stipend, and so we have just a full house. And so I just wanted to last share with, this is some professional learning from today. So this here was some math training that was going on. This is math. These are our pre-K teachers. They were here getting balanced literacy training, because we're starting even with the little ones. And then this was at Benavides, this was GT training, and this is what's called the Socratic Circle. And so that's, we're just offering as many opportunities to grow our teachers.
She got her chairs, did she?
Yes, she got her chairs. Ms. Little, would you like to share anything in addition?
Well, the beauty of being student support services is, what I love about it, and it was always my passion when I was on the campus already, is everything that we do that supports the academics. Because really, we are here for the academic. I mean, the character education, the socio-emotional, those are things we touch upon every day with the students. But academics only happen when they're supported. So you know that what my umbrella covers is the special education, the bilingual, the ESL. Mr. Bundes with the federal programs and the money's there. Mr. Cavazos and Mr. Dominguez with the attendance and truancy. And then, of course, the teams department with the registration and enrollment, because if they're not in the schools, if we're not getting them enrolled and in the classes, then we're unable to educate them. So we just are keeping up with the academic side, making sure that it's stronger and stronger. I am so happy because everybody has been at the campuses every day, each week, going there. We're putting more systems and processes in place. We have everyone starting little handbooks. And I was like, even if it's just 2 to 3 pages right now, it's the beginning of a handbook. And then as the year goes on, you're like, oh, that's something. Mr. Gallardo with guidance and counseling. He has a very robust counselor handbook. His is larger. But even when something else came up, what we did was he made the flow chart that was necessary for that item, put it in his, and then we disseminated it out to the campuses. And it was just that working, living binder. Well, how do I contact Ms. RCNA again? What do I do if somebody needs a referral that's in special ed? Who do I call? And so that's what our side of the house is busy doing right now, is just cementing all those. We know it up here, and now we need it right here so that no matter, everybody is on the same literal page when it comes to different policies and systems.
So that, in a nutshell.
Is the division about checks?
Speaking of the wraparound services at Athens, where are we putting our parent community center?
The ESL and GED classrooms, we have 4 classrooms dedicated to them in the Athens annex. So we have one office that is just the office setting, and then we have a computer lab, and then we actually have an ESL room and a GED classroom.
Okay, and can you give us a status of, I know there was work being done, where are we in actually getting people in there and starting all this?
I called you with that because I had a couple calls.
We are actually really close to it. There's still some construction, obviously, that needs to take place that we can put in. For the classrooms, that's a little bit easier because we were moving desks and tables, and we were able to find computer tables. We just installed some whiteboards. I believe the bulletin boards are in the progress right now according to the work order. And so I believe we'll be able to get in there very soon. I can't give you a firm date, but I mean, at this point, besides the Bobcat Boutique part of building, the classrooms are clean. We're doing some last minute finishing that's going to make sure that because we have different organizations in there, not just the therapy, but like the parent and then the Baby Bobcat, the boutique, the food pantry. We're going to also do something that's kind of a visual divider so that you realize that this side of the building are the therapy rooms, and more of a confidential type of just a visual so that you know which way. But it's pretty much there. We're looking for some furniture for the therapy rooms because it's not the standard desk and all. But we've had a couple of donations that we've picked up, and then it's just finalizing those touches. What are the times? What the wraps?
First week in November. You said that the whiteboards were installed, but on the way, is that what you said? I caught it wrong.
No, I'm sorry. No, I probably just.
Yeah, I was like, wait, huh?
There were some classrooms that didn't have whiteboards when the building was closed, that maybe they were moved into the other building. And so those classrooms, because the ESL and GED classes are instructional, they needed them. So we had whiteboards, but in addition to that, there is information that the teachers put up for the students. So we were getting those, I believe, were on the way. That's what last time I read was a work in progress.
I think you said we were at Carrillo right now, right?
We are.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So is there a way like to do, just that program means a lot to me because I actually did it here.
Okay.
And it's an amazing program, and we have a lot of success stories that come out of that program. So that's like something that I love. And is there a way that we can do like a walkthrough on that? Just to see
most
how
definitely.
it's-
Absolutely.
Because I think it's very important that we keep that going, because I have visited and see students that we need to keep it, we need to keep it going.
Well, maybe Ms. Aleda, you and I meet Friday, so maybe we can start.
Okay,
Yeah, I have it done.
Yeah, okay.
I have a question.
Monday.
With the GED classes and
Yes.
everything for the parents.
Yes.
I know sometimes financially, it's kind of hard for some parents. It's free.
Yes.
When they take the test.
And
the testing.
and it's free, and they help you find the resources to take the test.
Okay, because I remember they said that
Yes,
to take the test.
And I
it
did
costs.
send the link this past report as well to you.
It does cost to take the test, but they help you. There's resources on the outside that help you pay for the test.
So they'll pay for it. It's for collaboration with the Education Service Center.
Oh.
It's amazing.
Thank you, Ms. Osco. Thank you, Mr. Leon.
Okay, so
Mr.
we're
Doucette?
done with number 7. Mr. Doucette, do you have the?
Well, we have a combination.
You're all quiet.
We have, I'll I know that we have the budget review and the approval process, what internally takes place when we are preparing for a budget review. As you all may know or may not, I believe we've been sharing just the budget process every 3 months, and we're looking at making some adjustments there so that we can at least have it on a monthly as well. So that's to come for us, and as you can see, there's so many different areas that impact what the budget and the review looks like for us. So stay tuned, more to come with specificity as to what all the numbers that come together create when it comes to the budget and what you get to see, whether it is on a weekly, so you're receiving your expenditure reports and such. So all that will come together with time. And every time we come before you, of course, there's a little bit of professional development and training that goes along with that. Don't hesitate to also ask if we would like, we can share some one-on-one or additional clarification and information when it comes to budget and what this means and how all is allocated. So this is where the gurus of the business team come together to make that happen, and of course share with the board to monitor our budget throughout the year.
That's appreciated, because I know that we're brand new to the board, and there's a lot that has been approved in the past.
Yes.
It's going to take quite a bit of time to filter down
exactly.
through, so
Right.
it's appreciated.
And those historical pieces are important. So again, if you see something there, let us know, and we can definitely follow up on that. The next document is the key board budget action dates. Just again, major areas that we highlight with additional workshop days that may be required so that you can again continue to grow your skill set and your knowledge behind just the budget overall throughout the academic school year.
Can I ask a little bit of an unrelated question?
No, go ahead, please.
So I really like this key budget action dates. I wonder, is there a similar calendar for student progress and accountability and progress toward goals that we have? Is there
Yes,
something similar?
right. That goes alongside with our governance and all the goals and outcomes. So that comes every month, and you'll have some specifics as far as the status of data and where we are on the academic side as well. But again, if there's anything else that may require a drafted report, we can do that as well.
Okay.
Once you read that,
You do have, I'm going to show you were doing this one, but I know we have the academic calendar.
Yes, so you have an academic calendar and your binder as well. That's just to help you follow along. You notice today, it's highlighted because we had professional development. Our kiddos were not here, but our teachers were getting developed professionally, I don't know what to say. It was good. We actually got to visit some campuses with Mr. Roscoe, and there was a lot of training going on.
Yes.
It's inspirational to see the teachers and they're getting different principles and they're kind of.
Absolutely.
I was wondering why the lights weren't on when I was going to work. How did they look like? I think it's Columbus Day. And then I go into Harlan, I was like, oh, wait, no, it ain't.
Yeah. No, I tried to wake my kid up for school today. She was like, you're not missing the bus. She's like, our school has school day.
I don't have school, I'm like, what are they doing to me this year?
Traffic was a dream today.
I hear that. That's what
It was like, thank you,
I was all like, shh, Mom, was you told? I was like, oh, shoot. Oh, wait, there's no lights. Okay, I'll keep going.
The last document that you have here is from the San Antonio Police, South San Antonio ISD Police Department Chief Gavad, and just shared a letter that you could read on his behalf of the team as we prepare for the new Board of Trustees orientation. So very nice of him and a very nice gesture. If you have, I can tell you even coming in back in July, one that I gravitated when I went into the website to just get to familiarize myself with the district. It was just really great to see the core values, the mission, the vision and mission of the police department. In our extended cabinet meetings, Chief Gavad was with us, and it's really great to just hear his passion behind all the great opportunities that there are. And it's just not about going to a campus and handling a situation or an issue at hand. It is beyond that, and to hear him speak to that and spread that vision into the police department and all our officers, gosh, it's just really great. So looking forward to you all having that opportunity to hear him speak. He did just a couple of months ago to give an overview of where we were, status, and all the connections that we make within the campuses and within the community. And he still had some more ideas this morning.
He makes that connection. And
He
makes
does,
sure
yes.
it's not just like a uniform, he makes a connection with the kids.
Right.
With talking about the police department, you're showing us our expenditures, and I noticed on Kaizen, we're spending a lot of money, lots and lots of money on the vandalism. I know right now that we do not have patrol at night. I think it's costing us more than it would be to have an officer patrolling.
Thank you for sharing that, and that is something actually we have brought in 3 more. That are coming, one of them is in particular for the evening time. So it is again, historically, from what I understand as well, I know that we had to make some cuts and now we're gravitating back to adding these positions into play.
To make them, but they make them.
Wait, yes, and
then
that's what happened.
You look at our neighboring districts, like that we compare to, we're about, I would say 8 officers short, and I'm very.
The ideal is to have at least 5 more, and that we really put us in a place according to the plan, and again,
safety
those are just exactly.
Yes. Just South San High School alone is like a miniature college, and the amount of officers that we have there, that happens, they do they're amazing at their job, but you can only do so much when you have so little, Chris. So I think that's something we really need to make sure.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. We focus on.
And I just have a question, like with the football games and everything, I know the officers are sure staff, but do they have one particularly walking around the
We have several, we see that already, that
so
do,
employees,
so
you know,
there are specific assignments and plans of action that are put in place purposely, depending on, of course, what we're expecting with traffic as far as the community and visitors, so yes, it's very mindful.
And they're
it
pretty
is-
visible. You see them
They are,
walking.
they are very visible, the same thing happens on our Saturday mornings, football games as well, or anything that is out.
Like that they got the metal detector.
Yes,
they do.
Yes. We're one of few, and that's just telling from the last research that the service center conducted on that. So, yes. But again, we're looking forward to Chief Tawak presenting throughout the year here to come. As it is, we have an audit, safety audit that will take place this year, and we will have that information up for you as well in the latter part of the spring, give or take as well.
I just have something that's kind of off, but like with 20, that turn right there, it's
Yes.
always knocking that fence
Mrs.
down.
We did.
Is there like a way to like, hold so they can get that and not the fence?
We can definitely follow up on that. As a matter of fact, that was one late last week on my campus visits. Yes, one of our fences was down again, and it's just such an unusual area, the way
Does
it's
that
set
come
up.
out of the district money, or does
So,
it wait till the
part of
insurance
it
person?
It varies if we're able to catch it.
As far as the barrier poles that you're talking about, it's a variance between the city and the property line. As to, just got jurisdiction on it, so.
And I'll tell you, they won't because it's a liability. I've dealt with it with, I live on a corner house, so the city won't do it because if somebody hits one of those poles, you're gonna sue. And if the district does it, then we're liable as well.
Right.
So it's kind of
It's a very delicate, and unfortunately, it's
sad, but
yes.
Yeah, it's just that they always,
Thank you.
because we heard it when it knocked down that fence.
Yes, ma'am.
And
We just talked about it because it's a constant.
Yeah,
so.
and it's dangerous for our kids because a lot of the kids that live down, getting down to South Cross, they have to walk that way. And they don't go on the sidewalk, they cut right across there, so.
Yeah, even that, where we turn that street, I mean, and this is in the morning, and I see parents, and I'm turning, and I just see the car go, and I'm like, hello?
Right.
They don't stop, and their students, luckily the students weren't even walking, they were just like almost getting to the stop sign.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm like, I get mad, I'm like, this is school zone, school time.
Yeah, we've been dealing with that for a long time. And you're right, cities doesn't want to take responsibility and, yeah, it is.
I even called the police when they got the when I had just got onto the board and I was like, oh no, and I saw the little car parked at St. Joseph, I was like, yeah, rent the car, it ran into there and it parked in the church. So they went looking for him, so I'm hoping they got him.
I guess we could get somebody to deliver a big cinder block there at night. I don't know how it got there. You know, who's responsible, I don't
A
know.
lot of rock for it.
I had, so where they're building all right here, I live in this area, and those guys, because the city wouldn't help me, and I have a stop sign, they don't stop. So I asked the guy, I said, what are y'all gonna do with those rollers? And he said, well, we usually sell them. I said, can I have 2 of them? And they brought their tractors and they looked decoration. Those things run about $2,000. And he gave me one to cover my gas meter in front of that, and then the one for in front of the house.
Look at that.
It's very nice. How did they get there? Somebody put it there, I don't know.
Okay, I think let's move on. We have 2 more items. Number 8 is miscellaneous.
Well, we just placed that there. Maybe Ms. Michelle has any other specifics on that one, and then of course any questions that we want to answer for you.
So the only
Take a
miscellaneous.
3-minute break.
3 minutes.
3 minutes.
Sure.
I think we're good, Mr. Doucette.
Okay.
So the only miscellaneous items that I have is, if you guys would like business cards, you can just let me know, and I can get you some, so we can go over that if you want to, just let me know. And then also, just FYI, we do have board packets that are sent to your home via our district courier on Fridays, when applicable. It's not always. Our board has actually taken vote to go more electronic just to save the district money, so you don't get a whole bunch of paper anymore. We email you mostly, but in the event that we have something to send you, you'll see Pony at your house.
You need to identify a place in your front yard or by your door.
I have a mail bucket in my front door. Just
Okay.
put it in the mail bucket.
Okay.
Because Amazon is my wife's best friend. It's disappearing.
Those are the only miscellaneous that I have.
Have you had any lessons?
Okay. I think the cards are good. They're good to have, especially when we go to training sessions. We share with other board members. You know, it's good to have.
Could we get little magnetic name badges so that when we
Yeah.
do represent,
Absolutely.
Yes.
not have to remember our names?
That's right. And I don't think Stacy or Kevin have gotten shirts.
They have them in their merch
I
bag.
have.
Oh, okay.
And actually, the ones that are personalized are in my office. I'm not happy with them, so I'm gonna send them back, but you'll get them in the next couple of days. I like that.
Did they miss
Huh?
Did they miss Willette?
No, I'm not, they're not a vibrant like this. They were a little bit more toned down, and I don't like that. We need to be vibrant.
The more flair you give me, the more flair.
The secretary?
Yeah.
I was like, I guess I have to wear a shirt underneath, because it's like, you know, see-through.
Oh, is it?
Oh, is it really?
Yeah. So I was all like, yeah, I'll put those nice. Yeah, but it is nice, I was like, yeah.
I know.
Is it a tote bag or is it a lunch bag?
It's a lunch bag.
Oh, okay, so I know that's my,
It's made
all
of.
my tuna in here.
So thank you.
So,
Thank you,
I think
appreciate
that's it. I can't think of anything else. Do you have any other questions or?
Yeah, I have some, but I guess it can wait, just like on DOI and some of the stuff, some of the.
And we have some time together, so definitely. Absolutely. I do just want to share, Mrs. Prado, just on communication. Thank you so much. I know that you all came to Ms. Ibarra a little longer, but Ms. Aleret and Mr. Rascal, communication as far as what comes in. If a board member typically sends an email, they typically courtesy Mrs. Prado on it, and then when I do follow up with a response of any kind, I do add everyone as a courtesy so that everyone's informed as to what was asked by the board member. In that sense, once that happens, it pretty much leaves that communication alone. If you feel that you would like some follow-up, you can email me separately or call me as well. And we can definitely follow up in any way. We ask that you just not entertain that, just so that it's more of a
press
form.
all by accident, like I did.
More of a.
Sworn I pressed just reply and not all.
No, it's
I did
okay.
all.
Just more as a formality to everyone, so we can all be aware of what has been asked on that end. For your Fridays, for our Fridays reports. As you see, the report shares celebrations, anything specific, randomize what departments and updates, and hopes also to have a PR, a public relations opportunity to highlight our district. So again, if there's anything else that you may want to see, please let me know. It's just a work in progress as to what the report is. Anything else that we're working with and that it's beneficial to the board to know, we definitely will add it there as well as we continue.
On the newspaper.
Yes, so we are looking at, we're looking at 3 quotes to see what would be the most cost effective, and for the first release to be in November. So we're looking at a quarterly a newspaper to go out as well. So that is coming with the specifics as far as what the plan looks like, but we know that the first one will be right before we go on the Thanksgiving break to receive that. So we're excited for that to come. Internally, I will tell you, we have every department that submits information on a weekly basis as to how we're doing, and then of course when we come in together for our extended cabinet time, it's an opportunity to share latest and greatest. Because again, there are times that purchasing may not be privy to what's happening in the Division of Academics and such, so this allows that opportunity to just really know where we are, what we do, and the purpose of why we do what we do. And those are all important pieces there. I ask that typically if I don't, for whatever reason, don't pick up my phone right there and then, it's probably because I'm speaking to someone, and most of the time I respect that opportunity when I'm before a staff member, a parent, whatever the case may be, and I typically just kind of face it down. So sometimes I turn it around like, but then I'll definitely follow up on that end. So I am a phone call away, a text message away, if that needs to take place, and if I have to follow up, then of course everyone on the board receives that follow up as well. So again, appreciate the opportunity, and we'll continue as is unless there's any feedback from anyone. We'll keep it going there. But Mrs. Rose, anything on the
Ms. Drummond from Region 20 had informed me that actually orientation is a 3-hour orientation, but she said if you finish early, it's okay because you gave them homework, so that will count for your 3 hours. So
We read this carefully.
Yes. So Lone Star Governance,
right.
Our policy
and operating procedure.
It looks like we're all going in the middle of November to South Padre
Yes.
to get some task
additional,
training there.
yes, right, to hopefully to get you some additional hours if you can. I mean, there's other opportunities as well, just if we feel that we need to capture more hours soon.
I'll do
yes.
training, I'm gonna go with that one.
Okay.
But I'll do training in Region 20,
Yes, ma'am.
whatever I can get.
We will follow up with that.
And then only because I'm going out of town and I don't want, we're dealing with getting my son together.
Sure.
So I don't want to be away too much from him.
Yes,
I'll be gone a whole week and then come back and then be gone again.
No, understandable.
So,
Mrs.
just to get him
Rodriguez?
settled.
Sure.
Usually I'm pretty, I mean, everybody
Yeah,
knows I'm pretty
flexible.
flexible.
No,
But
thank you for that.
just until we get him diagnosed and we get him where he needs to be, I don't want to leave and then go again.
Yes, ma'am. No, that's
I
fine.
think Michelle can get you a list of what training Region 20 is going to have
They're
coming
gonna
up.
have one coming up.
Yes.
the 30th, right?
That's for your orientation in the Texas code. So that's a required training.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did I get you scheduled with you for the Region 20?
Yes.
Because I missed one, and did we reschedule?
Yes, we're rescheduling.
So we're good, okay.
Is that the same one?
That's the same one you're going to get Ed and Deanne talked to you about.
You just
So
need
at
one.
those campuses.
Right.
Yes,
Yes, she said
online.
you both wanted to go to the same one.
No.
I'm just thinking of where I'm going.
And Ms. Martinez will let you know. She'll work directly with you if there's anything else that's been requested.
So are we keeping these, Michelle, or are we giving them back to you?
No, that's yours. Okay. Yeah, the other ones are like a polo, they're more casual. So those are.
Okay, so if there's no other business at this time, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I have a motion, do I hear a second?
She said
Oh,
second.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned, and the time is 8:21.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for the grant to